Okay, oldu. Tamam gençler, şurada oldu ben. Kanalımıza girerek canlı dersimizi görebilirsiniz. Kendi sesimi kısayım. Yani derse geç gelirseniz YouTube'dan da girebilirsiniz. Bu dersin şimdi biraz değiştirsek aslında iyi olur. Neyse son. Şimdi son kanala bakayım. Bunu değiştirelim. Ups. Şimdi daha iyi. Tamam. Can everyone, good morning, the first class in 2022. So we will get started. Before that, please go and start Visual Studio as I do I will share my screen in my computer. And today so far we only have Başak in the classroom, which is nice. And except that we have 6 people here in Zoom. So right now I will go here. So I sent an email. Did you guys receive it? You were supposed to install data tools in Visual Studio. Anyone who has done it? Başak, did you do it? Şimdi, okay. No, Entity Framework we will do it, but you need to do the other thing. I think no one has done it. Anyone? Any of you has done it? There's some chat. Yes, Emre and Rumeysa did it. So then please, in the Visual Studio installer, here I think to choose modify. And here I think to choose just data tools and then install it. So it's here. Başak and any of you guys who haven't done it, if you go here, I think it's this one. So you should choose this and then install this. I think, if I'm not mistaken, but I have the PDF sent to everyone, so you should install it, okay? It's a kind of plugin for Visual Studio so that we can create and manipulate databases. I think it's this one, data storage and processing. So I will close this and I see, maybe I even haven't done it. So I will also do it because I have, I think, a newer version. So I will click modify. And I think all you need is here just the SQL Server data tools. You can check my screen here. You just need to, did you do this? No.
I clicked on from the top.
You did this, okay, you did this,
Yes.
fine, okay, awesome. So what we are going to do is, and I think I haven't done it. I thought I did it, but it was the previous version of Visual Studio. And it asked me to close the Visual Studio. I think it should be fast. So any questions about the lab assignments or anything else? So we are approaching to the end of the semester. Actually, what we are going to do is today and next week, we will learn about databases, and then we will finish the classes, which will be 10th of, so today is 3rd, and then 10th, we have another class, and then in 17th, I will give the final exam. Then you can do it until 24th. Okay, so I guess this sounds good. So you will have a lot of time to do it, but just try to do it yourself, okay? You can ask for help, but you are responsible doing it just yourself. And trust me, it's not something super complicated. So, and if you haven't submitted some of your assignments, please do it until, I think, until the 24th of this month. After that, I won't evaluate your submissions. And let me see who is in the chat now. Yeah, Doğukan. So you can tell Ozan and Ekin, right? I remember correctly. Doğukan. And Ekin, I think,
Hocam,
is lost, I think. I don't know.
Ekin. Yes, hocam.
I'm not sure he's gonna do more things.
Okay, I will let him know.
Sorry.
I came from Adana.
Okay. I don't even, can you see? You come from,
So
can you see it again? Sorry, from the beginning.
I can also inform Eda and Guy
Ah, okay.
about
I think
this
Eda also,
process. Eda
also, I don't think she will do it, but Gaia, yes, I think she may do it. But you can, of course, inform her. So now I have my data tools installed as well. So what I will do is I will go back to my Visual Studio and open, create a new project. But before that, I think I will open my PDF. So PDF, I think if I didn't forget, it should be now in O2 class. So I will go back to my materials. Okay, I was just talking about you.
Really?
Long time no see. I hope you are now fine. Do you think you can finish?
Ekin mi hocam o?
Yes,
Allah Allah.
nicely. So today we are gonna do something different. So we will learn about a little bit about databases, and then we will learn about this thing called entity framework. Did you guys learn about it in databases in so far previous years? Is there a course about databases? I think next semester.
Yes, we have.
Next,
We had.
right?
No, we had.
But normally it's
I had
the,
last semester, but the other ones, I think, had 2 or 3 semesters earlier.
okay, nice. Okay. So today we will learn about databases. So with data, so far we have used like you guys remember lists to bind data to list boxes, but once we close our application, we have all data lost, right? Whatever data we add to the application, they all disappear after the application is closed. But to prevent this, today we will learn about databases. So with databases, you can keep some persistent data. Even when you close the application, the data will stay there in a structured manner. And databases, help you like give a clear structure to your data. So tables, within tables, you have columns and rows. So we have just done this part. If you haven't, okay, but I think you will use this.
Yes.
Visual Studio, yes, there's Visual Studio. But let's see if it has this thing. We will see. And if you have that installed, and in your Visual Studio, right now we will go to the View menu to access this SQL Server Object Explorer. So I will create a new project here. Create a new project. And we have our class streamed in YouTube, and we have around 5,000 viewers. Okay. So, okay, for semester 6. Okay, second year. Okay, so create a new project. It's module 11. You can put just your name. I'll say 4. I will continue, click and create. I think someone saw yours. Yes, it's installed, but it's a bit slow. about your computer? So here I will click view, and if it lets me. So also in your project, please create a project and there click view. And you should have this SQL Server Object Explorer. Okay, the item that start, only item that start with SQL, I think they also pronounce it this way. And I will click this. And then you should have these things showing up here. So we will work on the first one, which say MS SQL, Microsoft SQL local DB. Okay, we will do all things here. So this kind of like local server installed on your computer, and here I expand this by clicking this, and then here we have the databases. I have already created some databases before, and I think I will delete those. So this week, next week, and the final exam, they are all gonna about storing data in databases and creating databases. Just better you understand, you know, today's class and next week's class. So what we are going to do is we will create a new database. So to do that, I right click on databases folder here and then click on add new database. And here we will put book management. So we will create a database to manage some books. Very simple database. And then here, as you see, I have the book management database created. Here I expand it, and it has many components, subfolders. Here in this course, we will only focus on tables. It has some default tables, we don't care. What we will do is we will create our own table. To do that, I right click on the, I think, tables folder. And then here you just choose add new table. And automatically it will show up this, you will prepare this window. Okay. So this code here will be automatically updated based on what the changes you do here in this interface. Say they are kind of synchronous, okay? They are automatically synchronous. Any changes you do in code will be reflected in the interface. Any changes you do in the interface will be reflected in the code. We will mostly do things in the interface part. So here actually first it shows like the design view. Did you guys see it says table design? That means here you put the column names and then their data types and maybe some other extra features. So first thing, it will automatically create an ID column for us. As you guys see, it automatically counts. So normally every table, if you don't have a strong reason against this, every table should have an ID column. This kind of like identifier to let you, find a specific record in your database. So in this case, it could be a book. If we choose this column, right? This column is chosen now. The properties window on the right-hand side will be automatically updated. So here, what we are going to do is, let me see. There is this property, which you guys see, identity specification. I will extend this, and I will make this identity to true. I will change this. Okay, did you guys see now? It automatically set the identity increment and identity seed 1, 1. That means automatically generate the values for this column for IDs. Okay, and these values should start from 1 in the identity seed. That means it should start from 1. So if you add first row, it will go, its ID will be 1. If you add the second one, its ID will be 2 because its identity increment is set to 1. It means it will increase 1 by 1 automatically. No. Can you in start menu? Can you write Visual Studio installer in the start menu? Visual Studio installer. There is okay. So is this clear? So ID here is it's a primary key first. Did you guys see there is also primary key sign here? Did you? I think you guys maybe learned about primary keys. Yeah, I was expecting, but I still want to try. So first thing, yes, is a primary key, and then we also make it as an identity key, identity column. So primary key means values in this column has to be unique. There cannot be the same ID repeating for in multiple rows. So that's why it's called primary key. There's this key set. We also make it identity because we want to automatically set its values by SQL itself. We don't want to enter any values, and we say it should start from the 1 for the first row of books, and then should increase 1 by 1 for the new book records. And next, what we are going to do is, so what else we want to keep about the books, records about the books, data about the books is first title. And here we will define it as varchar, this column. So varchar, you can just think of like it's a kind of string variable. Okay, I don't want to go details about the database concepts, but here we provide this value to say that this is a string value. This column will hold string values. And then we will also include the pages. We will also make it string values and varchar and max. So this means how many pages it has. And as you see here, we have the allow nulls. That means it's fine if the user enters empty string to the title. If you don't want to let this happen, you can uncheck this. As you see here, any change I do is reflected at the bottom. So if I check allow nulls for title, as you see now null is here. That means it can have null values. If I uncheck this, as you see now, it says it cannot have null values. For example, for ID, here as you see, it says it's a primary key and it's identity type. The things we have set up in the interface. So, and here what I will do is, one more thing is here, did you guys see its default name for table is table on the bottom? Did you guys see? So this one I will change this to let's say books. Okay, so this table is holding records for books. So here I will just put books. And to save this table, there's not like a save button here. You need to click here's the update button. Did you guys see on the top there's update button? So I will click this. And here you will see this scroll window, and then here just click on update database. Once you see this message, update completed successfully with green mark, here check mark, you will see that the books table, as you see, is created here. As you guys see under tables, now we have the books table. So now I will close the design view. I will also close my form. I don't need my form now. So what I will do is now we can add some values to see how it works out. So I will right click on books table, and then I will go view data. And here we can write some book names, for example, 1984 that I should read. I haven't read it. Let's say it has do right click on the books table and then choose view data. And here, did you see, actually we cannot enter any values for ID. Okay, it will be automatically generated because it's an identity column. And the title will be this, pages, let's say, will be 650, and then I will press enter. So when I press enter, you will see the ID will be automatically generated as a 1. So press enter, as you see now ID is 1, which cannot be changed because we set it as an identity column. And we can add more books, for example, Pride and Prejudice, I think. Then let's say it has 500 pages. So I will press enter and second ID will be automatically set to true. So I don't need to do anything else. All I need to do is provide title and pages values for each book, and then ID will be automatically generated. And it's gonna be unique ID. Okay, it will be automatically unique ID. Kaylin, I'm sorry I didn't admit you before. I don't know why now I have this admit thing. I want to turn this off. Kaylin, you can also check the YouTube if you subscribe to the channel to see the previous part. So any of you guys who joined late, you can go to the YouTube channel and then check the previous part. Okay. So that's the good part, I think, to have this thing in the YouTube. So now we have added 2 records to our books table. So what we are going to do next is we will create authors table. So now we have data table to keep records of the books. Now we will have another table. So I will right click on tables folder and then choose a new table to create authors table. And as you see, again, it has the ID primary key automatically created here. We don't have to make this like the identity column. It's optional. But if you don't have this as identity column, you have to make sure that you provide unique IDs. Okay, because the primary key ID, so that's why it has to always has unique values. It cannot repeat. So to facilitate this, we use simply identity specification here. When the ID column is chosen, we just set this to true. His identity, we set it as true. So authors, we will have, I think, just name, Csharp Max, and surname, and Csharp Max. So, and also if you missed some parts that I was fast, then again you can go to YouTube channel, and I think it's like there's a 20 seconds delay with Zoom and the YouTube, so you can just check the previous part very fast if you miss anything. So we now create our table. We wanna what we can do is first give a name also to this table. Let's say authors, and then click update to create this table. Now it's preparing the update script. It took longer than what I expect. I will cancel and then do it again. Let's see. I guess I have to wait. Did you guys have it fast, right? Already. No, it's not gonna work. I can do it. I don't get it, guys, basically. But what I'm gonna do is, okay, maybe you have it saved in your case. That's fine. What I'm gonna do is, okay, just assume that this table also is saved in my computer. I will create something called foreign key. So foreign key is a way to link this authors table with the books table, right? So we have books, we have authors, and actually we need to add some authors data to be able to continue. What I will do is I will close this. I will create again a new table. I will do the changes very fast. And I will change name to authors. Click update. Please do it fast. First time it makes me wait like this. Maybe I should cancel this, copy this, and then here new table.
Hocam, when you uncheck the allow moves column, it do it fast.
Thanks for the help. Thanks for the help. I think I figured out. So I will click view data. Now it's fine. Okay. Thanks for the help, by the way. So now we will add some authors data. Okay. Name and just surname. So George Orwell. And then for the next one, we will add Jane Austen. And now as you see, the IDs are automatically generated as well for us. So now we have to like two tables, right, and with some data. But what we want to do is to link authors with books, right? For example, this first book is written by this first author here, but they are not associated. We need to associate them. So here the point is like we will create a foreign key column. Here is the point like each book is should be associated by one author, right? And one author can be associated with more than one book because author can have many books, but a book has to belong to one author. In this case, you need to put that foreign key column to the books to indicate the author of that book. So to do that, I will right click on the books table and then go choose view designer this time because we will add a new column. And here I will add a new new column. It's gonna be author ID, and it's gonna be ID int type. So why I set this as int? Because the ID, the primary key ID in authors table is also an integer, and this author ID will reference to the ID of this author table. Because we want to indicate the author of each book. And for author of each book, we will indicate it using this author ID, which is known as foreign key. So foreign key normally associates this books table with authors table. And it's kind of refers to the reference to the primary key of the other table. So here's the primary key ID of the authors table. It's kind of help us, to link these two tables. But we need to indicate this. So we could just leave it like this, right? Just author ID int. But what if user enters an author ID that doesn't exist, like 3? This is gonna let this happen. You won't have troubles here. So you can enter invalid author ID. To prevent this, you have to add some foreign key constraints. Did you guys see there's here foreign key? On the right hand side. So I will right click here and then I will choose add not new foreign key. and I will leave as it is foreign key books to table, books to, let's say, which table? Books to authors table. That's it. And here we can also put a underscore maybe. It doesn't matter, the name of the foreign key doesn't matter, but at least it should say like FK, right? Foreign key from books to authors. So press enter. Once you press enter, you will have this line showed up here. Did you see? And here we will have to add some code. So foreign key field is which one? Is author ID, right? So here I will add just write author ID. Ask us what is the author ID, what is the foreign key in this table? It's gonna be author ID, and this is gonna reference which table? Authors table. And which column in that table? The primary key, which is ID. So this author ID in this table has to reference some ID, some author ID in authors table. Otherwise, it won't let you enter that data. Make sense? Okay. How about you, Başak? Okay, so for example, just to see this in practice, if you go books table, so first I need to update this. So I will click this update. Okay, this one is fast. I think switch that. So in books table right now, right? So I will close books table actually because now we have new column. So I will go books item here and then click view data. And as you see now, author ID is now, right? So the first book, this one, right? 1984, its author is actually George Orwell, whose ID is 1. So I will go here and enter 1. And for the second one, I will enter the ID of, for example, something doesn't exist, right? We have 2 IDs, 2 authors, 2 IDs, 1 and 2. So if I here enter 3, as you see, it won't let me enter. Because it says this author ID which you enter here, 3, the author ID doesn't exist in authors table. So I can only enter 1 or 2. So if I enter 2, that's fine. If I enter 1, that's fine. Anything else, 5, not accepted. So it ensures the integrity of your data, right? You cannot add an author for a book that doesn't exist. Is this clear? So why? Because if we again check our view authors table, books table. Here there is this foreign key constraint. Okay, that's why. It means author ID has to reference some ID in authors table. That's why it won't let you enter an author ID that doesn't exist. So let me see, I think we finished this part. So now we will, so I just want to give introduction about these concepts, like in a basic, very basic level. And I think we might have, an entire course to cover all these database concepts. But here I just want to make you guys a quick introduction. And it's gonna be helpful for you guys. Still waiting, please wait. And Reja, you were waiting for something like me. And Reja, are you fine now? I don't know.
Yeah, I did it. No problem there.
Okay. By the way, your microphone quality, I think, or the environment is not good, so I barely understand you. Sorry, okay? So now we are done with this database part, introduction database. So we will learn about entity framework, which we will use to automatically create these tables, this database. So we don't have to do these things manually like the way we did, which was the case before this entity framework. So what we are going to do is, do you guys remember, I always ask you guys, so I will close this SQL Server Object Explorer, close these files. I will keep my toolbox here. And then here we will back to our Solution Explorer. You guys remember, I always ask you guys to add a new folder here, right? And it's always named model. This means we need to create a domain model of our application, like which classes, which objects will exist, and what will be the relationship between these classes. And actually what will happen is these classes will map to some tables in the database. Okay, this is our goal. And it's going to be possible with Entity Framework. So what we are going to do is first, so we will kind of create this book manager in our application. Okay, so we want this database to automatically created in the database based on our model here. So to build our model, we will first add a new class. And we will name this as a book. So we will add a new book class. You guys remember in the table what we have created? You guys remember an ID column, right? We will do the same thing here. We will create an ID column. ID property this time. This is going to be ID of the book table in the database automatically. This is going to be mapped automatically by Entity Framework. So I will create public ID with standard get and offset automatic accessors. And I will define public string title, right? You guys remember we have a title. So here we focus on our model, okay? We focus on like book, we will have book objects and what kind of data properties this book object should have. This is our goal. So we right now don't care about the database. We assume that there is no database exists. And the thing we created is just for practice. This application won't have access to that database. It will create its own database based on these class definitions. Okay, the thing we have created doesn't have anything to do with this. So last, do you guys remember we have actually the pages, but if you want, we can here add, for example, pages as integer maybe. Get set, and we will also add here public int year. Okay, which year they were written. The book. So right now, this kind of like very basic model. Okay, it consists of only one object, book classes, and that's it. And it has these 4 properties. Okay, these are domain model. You could have, for example, authors class that can be linked also with book. Like each book should have an author, but we may do this next week. For now, we will focus on how this can be mapped to the database automatically using Entity Framework. So right now, we assume that our model is created. Here, we have only one class. Normally, in a complex project, we would have, I don't know, tens of classes and with some relationship among them. So now we are done with our model. We will install and configure Entity Framework. So I guess everyone has this. So what I need you to do is now right-click on the Solution Explorer or the project name here, and then choose Manage Nugget Packages. So each time you want to use Entity Framework in your project, you have to install it as a package. It counts as a package. So we'll go browse here. And you need to write Entity Framework core. Did you guys see Entity Framework core? This one, the first one. Did you guys see? When you have this, click on install. So this is gonna install this package only in your framework core, select and we will have some of them more. So it's not oh, maybe internet has problem. Connect my internet first. In your case, it's okay. It's finished. Why? Sorry. Guys, when my mic is turned off, just turn on your mic and let me know. I cannot see all the time the chats. How long it has been like this? I think it reconnected this way. I need to share my screen as well. Okay, now everything is fine. So did you guys install this? I chose the fifth version here, version 5, so it worked. Next, we will install the relational one, .NET Core Relational. I will click install. And I think I will, which version? Stable. I will choose again the 5.0.0. I will click install. Maybe it's too old, but let's see. This also worked, I guess, right? As you see, I have these things marked here. And we need to install one more thing, right? Tools and designs. So here we have the, again, tools. Did you guys see tools? Also install this one. I will choose the, I don't know, some older version. Let's try this one. I think it works. No, it didn't. I do install a little bit older one. Maybe this one. No, it also doesn't work. I will install this one, 5.0.0. This one works. So I have the tools installed. And I think last one I need to install is SQL Server, this one. So install 4 things, okay? Discord, relational, tools, and SQL Server. And I think I have to choose 5.0.0. In my one, it works 5.0.0. Yeah, all starts with entity framework core and then .tools. And SQL Server design, I don't think we need it, and then the core and relation. So if you have installed them, now we will have a break. Okay, we will start at 40. 11:40 we will start. And meanwhile, if you have any questions, please let me know. Hello everyone again. So now we have our entity framework installed in our project. So if we create a new project and we want to use entity framework, we have to follow the same steps. Okay, you have to install these packages, 4 packages. And I have detailed PDF about this in Untitled class. Okay, so if you are like, I don't know which, I will show it. If you are like, I don't know which packages we are supposed to install, and I don't know how to, what is the menu here to access different packages, I prepared a specific PDF for this purpose. And here in our module here, as you see here, this one, guide for installing, enabling entity framework in Visual Studio, this one. So this provides all the guidance that you need to install entity framework in your future projects, which will be this week and next week and the final project. So now that we have the framework installed, now what we need to do is we need to tell entity framework, so I will call this window. We need to tell entity framework convert this model, which only has one book class, into a database. That means basically it needs to create a table called book with these columns. Okay. To do that, we need to create a specific, very special class file. So I will go here, click add in our model again. This is called DB context. It always should end with DB context. In our case, we will say, I think book DB context. Okay. So I think I will say book DB context, or we could just say library DB context if you are developing a library application, but this should communicate the purpose of your application, and then you should put always DB context at the end. So click OK, and then so do you guys remember last week we learned about driving classes like inheritance, right? To do that, we were doing something like putting a colon at the end of the class definition, class header. And then here we want this to inherit from this DB context file, which doesn't exist now. So I will press S because its namespace has to be included in this file. So to do that, I will click on this sign, and then choose the first one using Microsoft Entity Framework code. So our own special DB context file, book DB context, will inherit from DB context that is already existing in Entity Framework. And if you go in there, if I right click and go to definition, or you could press F12, you may see that it has already a lot of methods, a lot of things going on there. So we will have access to these methods actually because we inherit our DB context, book DB context from this DB context. So here we just provide some configurations in this DB context that Entity Framework use to convert this book domain, book class to the corresponding database. So to do that, we have a line of code. First is we need to set a connection string. We need to say like what database name it should be and what is the server for this database. So normally in our previous one, if I go back to my, so you don't need to check this, because server actually, as you see, it's a server. So we need to tell its framework that you need to create a database in this server. Otherwise, it doesn't know. Maybe you have here 5 servers installed, or maybe you will use a server on the cloud, right? So you need to tell them like where it should create and manipulate database. So to do that, I will go here and I will type. Let me see how it works. I did not configure. It doesn't show. I think I will write override. And if you write override, it will show you a list. And here we need to choose on configure. Did you guys see? So I will just choose this and press enter on configure. So when you type override, it lists the methods that exist in DB context that you can override. So I will just choose this one Press enter. And then it will show me create automatically this code. Here, what we are going to do is we will replace this. So here I will. So there is this parameters passed here, right? Options builder. So I will use the option builder to indicate the database. So use SQL Server. So we will use an SQL Server. That's why I choose use SQL Server. And inside here, we indicate the server. So server will be, we should write what I wrote here exactly. It should be, I think, local DB. And then the, oops, this backward slash, then MS SQL local DB. And here we give a database name, just indicate database equals, let's say, book management EF. So this creates from entity frame. So this is a kind of standard code that you will use in the next projects you will work in the lab also next week. So I recommend you just kind of like copy and paste this next time when you create a new project. Okay, I don't want you guys to memorize this thing, that's fine. So, but just keep this code somewhere accessible so that you can copy and paste your new projects. But the important thing here is this one. So it should be a unique database name. So here we indicate two things, right? Basically, the server is a local database. If it was a server in the cloud, you would put some IP addresses here, most probably. But and then the database. So what should be the name of the database? If it is not created, it will create it. If it is created, I think it will just use it. Okay. But if it doesn't exist, then it will just create it first time. That's it. So now we told entity framework like where we want to create this database, which server, and then what should be the name of the database, and that's it. And next, we need to tell like which table we want to create in our database. And to do that, we use this something called DB set. So what I will do is I will write a public DB set. Here it will be book type, and then this is gonna be books. And we will put get and set. So using this DB set type, we create a proxy for our book class. We will create a proxy to this books table in. So this is gonna create a books table in the database, and we are communicating this to entity framework using this definition in the book DB context file. So this is gonna be like a proxy to the books table that will be created in this SQL Server database. If we don't have this, it won't create a books table that will correspond to this book class in our program. Okay, so imagine that you have in your model, you have 5 different classes for whatever purposes. Until you don't indicate this here using DB set, no tables will be created for these classes. So now we have the main configurations for entity framework to create our create a backend database based on these definitions. So what we are going to do is some new. So if I don't remember wrong, let me see. Yeah, it's here. So in the tools, go to Nugget Package Manager, and here we have Package Manager console. And this is going to open up this window at the bottom. So it's Tools, Nugget Package Manager, and then the first one, Package Manager console. I don't think it's accessible here. No, no, it's not. Anyways, so it should be open up here. So now we will challenge framework to create our database. And we do this using something called migrations. Okay, it's called migrations. It's a kind of technology in its framework that is used to create databases, update databases based on the changing model characteristics. So here we will use it the first time create the database. So what we are gonna do is we will add a new migration. So I will write add here. You press, I think, no. I will continue write migration. Normally it should show up some kind of list. Yeah. So here if you type, let's say add desktop, it will show you some list. And here we need to choose add migration. Press enter. Then we need to give a name to the migration. So it's kind of mapping, okay? We say, okay, map what I have in my application, the classes, to the database. And we do this with migration. So you can just imagine that it's kind of a mapping. So I will say first DB creation. So I will give it a name, this migration. So I will press enter. And then it will process, and then here it will create this migration file. So this says if you go forwards, it will execute this up method. And then as you see what it does, as you guys see, it creates table called books. And then books table, you will have these fields. And it's kind of Csharp code to create some database instance in the database. And this database will have books table, and this books table will have an ID, which will be identity, as you see, the thing we have done before. And it have title, like it sets it as identity. It has title, pages, years. And it adds another constraint. It says this ID will be the primary key. I will check your speaking very soon. So migration is ready. We have checked all the things, right? Everything seems correct. So I will go again, package manager console, and then here I will choose update database. And it's gonna apply this code. It is going to execute this code to apply this migration. That means it will create this database first time, and then we'll create this books table with these columns here. Now it says successful, right? Feel successful. So if I go back to here, right? So I have this book management previously. I will go databases, click, refresh. Now as you see, I have my new database. And it has one table, which is perfect. And it has 3 columns that corresponds to these features, right? These features of my class. So everything was automatic. Can you go to the top? Using framework. I will show you what you need. Did you see this? At the top, you should have this using. Okay, using Microsoft framework code. Then because this color, did you see DB context has to be this color. So now we were able to successfully create the table, right? Through automatically based on our model. So now our database is ready, and we want to add data to the table and then fetch this data, retrieve the, for example, book records from that books table, and then show them in our application. Anyone has any questions? Everything is fine? Good, okay. So what I will do is I will now go back to my form. We will do something similar to this, quite simple. We will create this interface where you will have a button at book, and then we will have a list box to list the books. And actually, we will create a better interface than this because we want users to enter the title and the year. So we'll put this here or here. So I will, you can check my screen to add the controls. So I will go into toolbox. I don't need this one here. So we need what we need. We need title, year, and number of pages, right? So I will add 3 things here. I will add a label. So first label will be its text will be book title. And it wrote, okay.
No.
No. But did you add the using statement? The using statement, did you add it?
Yes.
And then but what error it says the build failed, but I don't see there is an error window at the bottom, like here.
Sure.
Did you see my screen? Like here, it should say like what is it?
And error was so that was actually.
Can you press Control Shift and B? It will build the application. So I will duplicate this field. So we will have book title. Second one will be book, let's say number of pages. And then I will copy and paste this again. And third one will be year. And then first text box, I will name it, change its name, going to design section here. It will be txt, let's say book title. Second one will be txt number of pages. Third one will be txt year. And under this, I will just add a button to add the record to database. So here I will just say button text will be create book. And button name will be btn create book. So now we have our form. What we want to do is when user fill out this form and then press create book, the book should be created in the database. Right click and then click. When you right click. Review. Review. Right click again. Okay. Clean solution. Clean, clean up. Clean up some comment. So now we need to do is double click on the create book button. And here, so we need to create a new book instance, right? Based on our book class. So to do that, I will use this syntax book. I will create a new book. As you see, it won't show up here, although I know that I have this class here because its namespace is not included here. So I will click here, choose this, and then choose using. Okay, the first thing. So it will add the related namespace to be able to use the book class. And then let's say new book. Hit a new, close to new book here. And we will say, so this new book, its title will be based on the txt book title field. And its pages will be txt number of pages that text. And its year will be again this year text. So we receive an error, right? Because actual pages and year are int, so we should convert them to an int. So I will quickly here use just int parse. So we assume that user enters something, right? And here I will also put int parse. And this is, so we have created our new book object. So I need to add this to our database, right? So we have this object only in the member right now. And using entity framework, I want to add this to our database. So to do that, I will use bookdb context file. So to do that, I will call bookdb context. So I will define this as just db like this, underscore gb. And it's going to be new bookdb context. So I will use this db context object to add the book to the database. To do that, I will type again the name of the db context. And I know that it has these authors, no, books, right? Do you guys remember we created this db set object that holds the books that act as a proxy to the books table in the database. So you guys remember book db context, we have this actual kind of property here. So here we access to that property to add the new book object. So new. So to execute this action, like adding this new book to the books table, you guys remember I always say this books object is a proxy to the books table in the database. Okay, it kind of refers to the table in the database, and we want to add this new book record to that database using this syntax. And to be able to do that, what we need to do is we just need to call this function, save changes, and that's it. So right now I will go run my code. Now it should display me this form, right? So what I will do is I will just add new books, okay? Simple book name, number of pages, whatever, and year 2005. So I will click create book. Right now it won't show me anything because it said just add this record to the database. So it won't do anything. It will just add it to the database. And if I go back to my SQL server, I have this, you guys remember this book management EF table. So I'll just show it to you guys. You don't have to do it in your computer, but you can check also. So I will right click on books table and then click view data. And as you see, our data now is added to the database. So database automatically created, and besides that, on top of that entity framework, let us easily add new records to the database. Okay. And so next, what we are going to do is we want to display these records in our form, right? And to do that, what we are going to do is we will add a new list box here at the bottom. So we'll extend this a little bit more here. And this list box, let's say its name will be list box underscore books. And so I will switch back to my code. And I will define a method to bind the books to this list box. So to do that, I will define a method called void bind books. So I need to get the book list from the database, right? To do that, again, I have to create an instance of the bookdb context object. So I will say class bookdb context, again, db equals new bookdb context. And here, db, if I just type db, do you guys remember it has this books db type object, db type, you see this thing, db type books property. So I just need to call this, and this is gonna, after that I have to convert this to a list. So this is gonna get all the book records from the table, from the books table. And what I need to do is I need to assign this to my list box. Books, it's data source. Do you guys remember we always did this data source thing, but previously we assigned some other lists. But this time we get the records, books records from the database using this DB object, convert them to this, and then assign them to this data source, to the list box as its data source. And here, what we need to do is we need to determine its value member and display member of the list box. So list box books value member will be equal to ID. So this is very typical. Value members are always some unique identifiers, in this case, the ID of the book. And list box books display member will be, of course, the title of the book. So now we define this method, but we didn't call it. So I will call it first when the form is first time loaded. So I will double click on the form to create this form one load events. And here I will call this function bind books. And I will call it one more time when a new book is created. So here, right, it adds a new book to the database. After this, I will call this function. So I will run this. So now I have my form. As you see, it shows already the previous record. Create book. Now as you see, it edit the new book. And everything, if I close my application, run it again, I will still have the data stored. Because they are in the database, and each time the form is loaded first time, I retrieve these records to display. Any questions? No. And then this is what I will cover today. And in the lab, you will do something very similar. And before that, you should submit what you have done to class as the in-class exercise. You should zip it and then send it there. And in the lab assignment, you will do something very similar. I think for creating some songs, but it will we will apply the same idea. So, any questions from class or from Zoom participants? From YouTube participants? Let's see how many people are watching. Any questions? If not, I think I will end the session. There is something in the chat. No, okay, look. So then, see you guys next week. And
Hocam,
take care. Yes.
in-class şeyi açılmamış sanırım.
Tamam, açarım. Tamam, sağ ol Deniz. And PDF'i de yükleyeceğim. I will also upload today's PDF. I forgot. Okay. Take care and see you guys next week.